Okay, in this training module, you'll be learning how to perform a hill start and practice the switch from throttle to braking as you crest a gradient and go from ascending to descending. You'll be using GE ES44 C4 locomotives hauling heavy intermodal freight. Now you'll go through the steps needed to take over this locomotive. When getting moving, it's worth remembering the following sequence that was covered in the locomotive training modules. Independent on, auto off. Throttle on, independent off. Let's go through that slowly and understand why. If you apply power too quickly, the wheels will slip. If this happens, reduce the amount of power to regain control and then gently reapply. If you are struggling for grip, apply sand to increase traction. That's it. You're moving forwards under power. If you use the same start process every time you begin moving, it'll become second nature. Congratulations, you have reached the summit. As you start your descent, you'll need to switch to dynamic brakes to control your speed. The most effective speed for dynamic brakes is around 30 miles per hour. So if you're exceeding that speed, you should be slowing down. Above 30 miles per hour, the dynamic brakes become a lot less effective, and you will be more reliant on the automatic brake. The automatic brake on its own will not provide enough fine control over the speed of the train. It's a blunt instrument, because you can't partially release the brakes, and they take a few minutes to apply to the setting you've asked for. If you try to rely on just the automatic brake, you will often find yourself coming to a halt, or going over speed while you wait anxiously for the brakes to apply. Watch the train speed as it crests the top of the gradient. You'll go from needing power to maintain speed to finding that power starting to accelerate the train. When you see that, start backing off power and aim to keep your speed below 30 miles per hour. Once your throttle is at zero and you're starting to pick, it's time to get the dynamic brakes into their setup position. They'll need to be there for 10 seconds before you can use them further. Start adding dynamic brake as needed to keep the speed in check. The dynamic brake is only on the locomotive and will react nearly instantly. As you begin to get to larger amounts of dynamic brake needing to be applied, it's time to bring in the automatic brake to help. In most cases, a minimum set of automatic brake is enough. Apply that now. Watch out that on some locomotives, as you apply the automatic brake, this will cut the dynamic brake out entirely. This is because of the brakes applying on your locomotive. If you notice this happening, pull the independent brake towards you into the bail-off position, and it will release those brakes only, leaving the automatic brake on the rest of the train. And you will see the dynamic brake come back into action immediately. As the automatic brake begins to take effect down the length of the train, you'll notice the train begin to slow down due to the extra braking effort. Gently dial back the amount of dynamic for this, and continue to try and aim to keep your speed around, but not exceeding, 30 miles per hour. If you find that full dynamic brake is unable to hold the train speed, add a little air with the automatic brake. Wait to see how the train reacts, and adjust with the dynamics as needed. Always work under your target speed of 30 miles per hour. If you find yourself chasing faster speeds, you'll need to take more substantial corrective action with the automatic brake. Okay, come to a stop up ahead using the automatic brake. Right. Well, that concludes this training module. It is highly recommended that you practice both hill starting and the change from ascent to descent until you are comfortable with them. They are one of the more challenging aspects of operating heavy freight, and you'll really feel like you're in more control of this train as you get the hang of this task. Welcome to driver training at the training center. Today you'll be learning how to drive this EMD SD40-2 locomotive in BNSF railway livery. The SD40-2 started production in 1972, with the last unit being built in 1986. Rated at 3,000 horsepower and weighing at least 170 tons, the SD40-2 is rated with a continuous tractive effort of 831,000 pounds. Over 4,000 SD40-2 locomotives were produced by EMD in various configurations, and many are still in use today, 50 years after they were first introduced. When you're ready to begin, climb aboard. Sit in the engineer's seat. Now you'll go through the steps needed to take over this locomotive. Firstly, you will need to set the generator field switch. This needs to be enabled for the throttle to control the power of the train. This locomotive requires the reverser handle to be inserted before operation. The reverser determines the direction of travel. Switch the front headlights on. Regardless of the time of day or weather, all locomotives must have their headlights on. When getting moving, it's worth remembering the following sequence: independent on, auto off, throttle on, independent off. Let's go through that slowly and understand why. First, fully apply the independent brake. Now, this will ensure that regardless of anything else, your train won't move. Next, fully release the automatic brake. This will release the brakes on the rest of the train, but you won't go anywhere because those independent brakes are holding you. Now apply a small amount of throttle and verify that power is generated. Finally, release the independent brake and you'll start moving. This is a great practice to get used to because it'll help you with two key areas. The first is that you verify that the train will take power before you release the brakes. You don't want to find yourself without power and having to hurriedly put the brakes back on. The second is that having power applied as you release the independent brakes ensures that you won't roll backwards. On steeper hill starts, you may even need to start with more power. And this is something you can practice and get used to as you find yourself out on the railroad. If you have any locomotives on the rear of the train behind freight cars, you can press the banking comms button to enable radio communications with those remote units. This will ensure that they operate their throttle and brakes in unison with your own locomotive, giving you much-needed extra control on your journey. Press it now, just to get practice, even though there aren't any connected. Coasting is a method used to efficiently maintain speed and reduce motor stress and maintenance requirements. Come to a stop in the indicated position using the independent brake. Independent brakes apply only to the locomotives in the formation and are much faster to apply and release than the automatic brake, which operates on the entire train. Change direction with a reverser. Then change the junction indicated, either by walking over to it or using the map. Before proceeding, check the two couplers are in the right position to allow for automatic coupling. Look at the rear coupler on your train and ensure it's open. Operate the cut bar if it is closed to release it. Next, walk over to the freight cars you're going to couple to and check their coupler knuckle is open too. Operate the cut bar here to open the knuckle. Before coupling cars, always check the knuckles are open, or you'll just bounce right off. Okay. The junction is correctly aligned and the cars are ready to couple. Couple up to the cars by gently driving into them at a slow speed. And most freight uses automatic knuckle couplers, so they will automatically couple once they connect. If your speed is too high, you risk derailing when coupling. Apply some brakes to slow your approach. Hey, nice work. Now change direction with the reverser and move the train forward into the indicated siding. Remember to apply a little power before releasing brakes. While it's not strictly necessary in the training center, this is the time to start forming great habits. Since you have freight cars coupled, you should slow down using the automatic brake and get the extra braking effort from those freight cars. The automatic brake applies brakes throughout the entire train. Uncouple the cars either by using the external camera or by walking to the cars on foot. That's it for this training module.